The other pillar we were talking about was decision making, and I find your take on it. I've never heard anybody else say you started taking acting classes to be a more entertaining fighter because fighting is like a performance. It's like the way your brain works is such like a different perspective that I think is amazing. But you're right, and like I was thinking about the fact that you do improv, you constantly have to think on your feet, which is exactly like when they throw you in the UFC for 30 seconds. You don't know what's happening live 10 seconds before that, so you have to think on your feet. And I feel like this translates into business and life where most people don't know how to make a decision because there's too many options, so they freeze up, or they're too scared to take action in fear of they're either going to make the wrong decision, and then if they do, what are people going to think, and how is it, and it turns into this whole thing where people overthink things. And I never thought about the power of learning improv and getting used to the fact of thinking on your feet. And like, you can't just sit there, everybody's staring at you. You have to make quicker decisions. And like even jujitsu, like I'm sure you get into a position, instead of overthinking it, I got to make a move. You get into something in life, somebody offers you an opportunity, got to make a move. So how much of the decision making do you think has accounted for where you are in life? Because I tell people, in my opinion, your life is a recipe of every decision you make. It's all the decisions, all the choices, just like a 5-round fight. The result is a series of all these decisions. And you tend to make good decisions. And even if you make the bad ones, you seem to have cumulatively made the right ones to get yourself where you are. You got a good brain. You're still out there. You're doing things of life after baseball. So talk about your decision-making process of how to decide what to do and what not to do, and how important that has been to get you where you are today in life and business.
So again, another book that I read was called Serial Winner. And it talked about how once you have a win, right? If you can think about all the decisions that it took you to get a win in life, whatever a win means to you in life, then you start to see a pattern of how to win. Like it's a pattern. You start seeing patterns of what's leading you towards the right direction. And you start seeing patterns of what leads you towards bad directions and bad decision making. So really it's just recognizing the patterns of what is taking you towards your goals and your wins. And the more you can recognize that, and just recognizing the small wins too. Like, this was a small win for me, but what were the decisions that I made to get this small win? Okay, I did this, that, and that. And then I got this little win, and I got that win, then I got that win. So now I'm moving in the right direction, and I'm starting to recognize what it is that's allowing me to get the bigger wins, because I'm making better decisions based on what I've known of my history of decision making. But again, it's not always that easy. And another thing too is that, you familiar with Skipper Kelp?
No.
He's the so for the Canelo Crawford fight, he did my job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Skip Kelp, he's one of Dana's really good friends. He was a old boxing guy back in the 90s. I think he might have been on the Olympic team, but a really good boxer, really smart, knowledgeable. We talk about boxing all the time. But I remember we were in Abu Dhabi one time, and he was telling me about Dana. And he said all the most successful people he know, they make decisions really fast. And it changed the way I thought about decision making. But he said they make decisions really fast. It's yes or no. But if they say yes and they realize that it wasn't the right one, they're able to pivot. Like the next decision is get out of this. Like, they don't necessarily stick with it. So it changed the way I thought about things. But again, you have to have a history of winning to know if it's the right decision or not, because or else you're just going to be making a bunch of bad decisions really quick. So if you can pay attention to what your decisions are to lead you into these winning positions, you can now make decisions a lot faster. And I always say this, I get as many jobs as I get because I say yes before the next man. Zach Candido, the producer of UFC, he probably put the post out like, who want this job? And while Alan Joban and Mike Chiesa are thinking about it, I done already said yes even before I knew what the job was. So I just get there before everybody else.
You ever see that quote? It says, it's like, dear optimists and pessimists, while you guys were arguing about that glass of water being full or empty, I drank it, sincerely the opportunist. I feel like that's what you did.
That's me, man. I'm like, yo, what? I'll do it. What's the job? You know what I'm saying? I say yes, and then I ask what the job is. I don't ask a bunch of questions about money or all that, because I don't need to ask questions about money, because the people who are offering me these opportunities, I know they're going to do me right. I'm not just taking blind opportunities thinking about, saying yes to opportunities that might not be in my favor, because I know what the situation was, and I'm saying yes to it because I know that the situation is going to be favorable.